your main content is food challenges, which a lot of guys get around. It's very apparent. But you're a big mental health advocate. But the way that you do it is not different to how we do it with BA.
Just enough that people think, especially as blokes, but not so much that you're like, I don't want to feel like I'm standing up on a soapbox preaching too much.
There's something funny in you being such a physical specimen and you just jamming your face full of crazy food. Do you think that's played into how people are commenting? And
Oh yeah, it's the smoke and mirrors of it all. By sort of looking the certain way I do, and then obviously being really into fitness sort of thing. But I think it also just sort of speaks volumes about like moderation, in the sense where you can sort of have a bit of a blowout, but it's all of the days in between it that really make the difference.
Is there any bad consequences of eating food challenges with, the whole stomach stretching? What can happen long term with that?
Yeah, so
welcome to the Better Bloke Podcast. I'm Matty.
I'm Rob.
And we're just a pair of average blokes on a mission to try and be a little bit less average.
We're going to speak about all things highs and lows of what it feels like to be a bloke, plus speak to some legends along the way about what it takes to be a better bloke. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to the Better Bloke Project, where we have a very special guest today. He is known for demolishing mountains of food for your pleasure viewing and has a shitload of tattoos, but is known for his very, very nice manners.
Oh, thank you very much.
We have Jimmy Judge sitting with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it, eh?
Welcome to the Better Bloke Project. You've been someone that we've wanted to speak to for a very long time, not only because of the content that you produce with the mountains of food that you eat, but you are so well-mannered, and it's such a refreshing change on social media to see just, I don't know, someone being nice to people.
I think I was really lucky the way I was raised, but also years and years of hospitality has really showed me the difference between a good customer and a bad customer, and I never want to be a bad customer.
So you've dealt with a lot of dickheads then?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There's one in every crowd, and with the public, you get a lot of crowds. So yeah, for sure.
You found sort of, call it fame if you want, but you blew up on Instagram and TikTok and all that pretty quickly, would you say?
Yeah, very spontaneously. So October last year, one of the videos blew up to like a million views, which for me at the time I had like 5,000 followers. And then the last 12 months it's just exponentially grown, which has been amazing. Like the support and stuff, like I'm so grateful. Everyone's just been like really, really cool.
What's the process of dealing with that been like for you? Like actually realizing that there's heaps of people looking at you and, they're resonating with you because you're a nice guy and they're liking the massive challenges and you have to do more challenges. What's that process been like to deal with?
It's been it's been a bit of a roller coaster, honestly, because I'm sure you guys would experience similar things on the social media sphere. There's a lot of positivity and you're getting recognized a lot more, and that's really cool. But then there's also, it's not always all positive, I guess. So it's just sort of like navigating around it. It's not the real life. I still want to set the best example possible, but not take anything negative to heart, sort of thing. Because what it's like with the internet, some of it can be quite impersonal, even if it is quite nasty. But for the most part, it's just been overwhelming. I never thought people would come up to me in the streets and congratulate me on eating so much food. This is the dream, man. I'm living the dream.
It's literally the dream, because the food that you're eating is it's Instagram worthy on on own, but then you're not making it Instagram worthy with how you're eating it.
No,
it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. That's why I like to on the old YouTube we slow it down for people that are a bit more stronger in the stomach, I guess. But with the time lapse, it's probably a lot more palatable to watch. I've had a few people come along. They're like, oh, we'll watch a challenge. I'm like, oh, you might regret that. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, that's a bit gross in person. 100% it's a bit gross in person. But no, it's been cool. It's been a ride. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Did you always resonate with those kind of challenges before you started filming it and putting it on socials?
Yeah, so for years and years I was boxing. We always had to keep our weight low for for the fights. And I used to watch, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Man vs. Food. Yeah, so I was like, man, if I didn't have to make weight, I'd like to try this. So then I stopped having to make weight. I retired a few years ago from the amateur boxing sort of thing, and gave it a go and fell in love with it instantly. And because you can kind of train with it as well, I think it got a bit of my competitive nature out, and I was like, oh, I could kind of get better at this for myself, make some videos. And then, it just sort of took off from there.
Going back to, so you when you were younger boxing, is that something that, what led you into boxing? Was it the physical side of it? Because like you're not a small human being. Like you're a big man.
I think as well, it was definitely the fitness side of things. Like definitely the fitness side of things. I'd be like being a young kid, like a young, angry young man. It sort of gave me a bit of a positive outlet, I guess. But also helped that, like, you know, dad used to box, granddad used to box. So it sort of felt like it was
a
bit
family
of,
affair.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So, yeah.
You sort of gave us a little window in there, like a bit of a angry, testy young kid, which I think is not dissimilar to a lot of the blokes that sort of we resonate with and we're talking with. Do you want to give us a bit of a backstory into like who is Jimmy Judge?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up, like, I was really lucky with my upbringing. Like, you know, mum and dad were there. Sort of they separated when I was probably about 11. And then, like, you know, like as lots of children of divorce sort of thing, like it's sort of, you know, puberty hits, the parents break up, you go into high school all of a sudden, like, you know, big changes. But just got sort of angry at the world, I guess. And that's where the boxing kind of came in and just like leveled me out. Sort of, I think any physical pursuit would have, but particularly the boxing side of things definitely helped. And then, yeah, from there, it was always sort of like trying to use, once I realized how important physical activity was for my mental health, then once I left school, I become a PT, and I was sort of like trying to share that as well, because I think it's really kind of underrated how beneficial, like, it doesn't have to be like boxing or anything, but like, you know, physical activity on one's mental health. Like for me, I think I would have been in a lot more trouble if I didn't have a positive outlet.
That's something that we tell guys all the time, and we have got guys coming to us saying that since they've started doing physical activity, their mental strength has just increased. Like the way that they feel better purely because doing the physical work.
For sure.
There's so much more than just the physical connection between the mind and the body. Like there's so much shit that goes on in between there with chemicals and all that sort of stuff, that there's science behind that physical activity actually makes you feel better.
Yes.
And so many people have been saying it, but it's as if people need to realize that themselves to go, oh shit, everyone's been saying this, but now I can understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very much a horse and water thing, I guess. Hey, and particularly stereotypically blokes, we're stubborn.
Very stubborn.
You know, so like you tell me something, and I'll take it on board, but I might need to hear it a few times. Whereas if I try it, and even though you've told me 6 times, I'll go, oh, hey, you're right. So sometimes, you know, you just sort of need to try it for yourself, like you said, and then you're like, oh, even though we're told these things, first-hand experience is sort of what gets it really into your head, I guess.
You've been doing the physical stuff for quite a while. Has there been moments throughout, you know, the last decade where you've found you've fallen off the bandwagon a bit? Maybe work's gotten crazy busy or life's gotten in the way. The physical drops off and you start to feel the implication of it?
Off 100%, 100%. Particularly, like you said, when life gets stressful and busy, it's probably the thing that I should be doing the most, but it's the thing that definitely feels like it gets neglected when you've got a million things going on and work's bad or relationships or something like that. I've definitely fallen off the wagon before and taken time off thinking like, you know, I need to prioritize other things. But by neglecting the physical side of things, I feel like everything else just compounds. You know, it gets harder, it gets more stressful. But that's why I sort of think I have a little, like every week now from falling off the wagon, I've got a routine where every Sunday I'll sit down, I'll write out a schedule. And even if it's like a walk or something, every day try and plan one thing physical. So at least I can hold myself accountable to that. It's like a to-do list. Just so when things do get hectic, I don't go, oh, you know, no time for this today. Like sort of schedule it in, like I'm going to be really busy today, so I have to get up a little bit earlier or I have to stay up a little bit later. Otherwise, like you said, it's just too easy. We're so busy, man. Like I don't think there's ever been a busier time to be alive for, like, you know, just for everyone, I guess.
So physical activity is your non-negotiable just because you know how important it is to your mental side.
100%, 100%. It's, I honestly can feel just even in my patience and stuff, you know, if I've skipped out on training or, you know, neglected that sort of self-care through the physical activity, I find that my diet's not as good, my self-talk's not as good, the way I interact with people is less kind. Even if it's not like a noticeable difference for me, I'm just like, oh, that wasn't really on brand with how I feel I communicate with the world, even if other people don't realize, you know. But yeah, 100%, like my number one non-negotiable for sure.
There's something funny in you being such a physical specimen and you just jamming your face full of crazy food. Do you think that's played into how people are sort of commenting, and you often comment back about your calorie intake and all this sort of stuff? Yeah. Do you want to talk on that?
Oh yeah. So I was mucking around with some of the lads at work recently, and it's sort of like we're talking about like it's the smoke and mirrors of it all. I think by sort of looking the certain way I do, and then obviously being really into fitness sort of thing, it creates like a bit of like not mystique, but people like how.
It's a contradiction.
100%. It doesn't make sense, you know. So I guess it's like the tattoos and being really nice. Like we all know lots of nice people that have tattoos, but it's not the go-to that you think of. And then we all probably know what we think of when we think eating challenges, and it's not someone that's overly fit. So I think that sort of like works in my favor too to get a bit of interest. But I think it also just sort of speaks volumes about like moderation in the sense where, you know, you can sort of have a bit of a blowout, or like I do with these challenges, but it's all of the days in between it that really make the difference. Like, you know, you're not going to get super overweight from being over your calories one day. I think a lot of people think, oh, no, I've overeaten today, it's all over. But like your calorie intake is like based over like a week, a month, a year. If you're in an overall maintenance for the whole year, like you still won't gain weight for the whole year. Obviously your weight will fluctuate up and down. So this has been really cool for that as well, kind of like also sharing a bit of knowledge, because I think a lot of people are under the assumption like you have one bad day, like that's it, your diet's ruined. So it's been nice to kind of like share that around as well.
And it just starts this like really bad snowball where you're like, oh, fuck, it's ruined my diet.
Yeah.
I may as well just keep smashing Big Macs now.
100%.
Where it's not the case.
Not
it's
at
like,
all.
It's a longer journey than just day by day when you start speaking about calories and more.
100%. Just like exercise, just like diet, one bad day doesn't mean you have to go, oh, well, week's ruined, start next week. But it's easy. It's easier to go, oh, diet starts Monday, I'll train next week, it's been busy. But like you said, if you get straight back on the wagon, you barely notice it at all, really, you know.
That goes for so many things in life, is if you just extend the timeline of what you're looking at it on, just because you have one bad day at work and you got shit all done doesn't mean you can't do more tomorrow.
100%.
Just because the calories on that day is bad, you can fix that. If you look at it just over the course of a week instead of a day, it changes your perspective on everything. And that can be applied to how you deal with your relationship. You have a fight with the missus, doesn't mean the next 3 days aren't going to be good. And yeah, extending timelines is a big one I like for perspective.
It could be. It depends what the fight about the missus is with.
They might hold on to it for a while.
Maybe, yes. In saying that, a lot of guys hold on to shit too, though. So
100%.
it's just people.
On the challenges, is there an absolute favorite challenge that you have done?
Whether that be food or just like the environment you were in, or because you've done some overseas challenges.
Yeah, I've done some overseas ones, which has been like really, really fun. There's a place in Bali actually that they just do like a bunch of like, they're not massive challenges, but they're just like a variety, like a big burger and a palmy stacker challenge and that sort of thing. I actually become really close friends with the owner. Everyone calls him Yogi, like Yogi Bear. But I think that's my favorite challenges because like through those challenges, I've actually made like all the staff every time I visit, like we're just like family now. And I think that's the thing that I love most about the food challenges is the interaction and friendships I've made through meeting all these cool people, for sure.
I think that's just Bali in general. Like everyone in Bali is so friendly.
That's true.
Where like you are Bali.
That's it.
How friendly you are.
Everyone gets along. Yeah, I do like that.
You got the bucket hat on.
Yeah, hey, that's true. Yeah.
So one of the things when it comes to food challenges, which you're water loading at the moment.
Yep.
So you had to make a quick dash to the bathroom as you rocked up.
Before.
Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah.
So everyone probably watches your videos, and well, not your videos because you're very open with how you talk about it all.
Yeah.
But to the uneducated, when it comes to food challenges, a lot of people would just be like, "Okay, yeah, this bloke's just going out and smashing a 5 kilo food challenge." Not the case.
No. I think the misconception is that you just rock up hungry. You know, I've done a few fun collabs with people that don't do eating challenges. We've just like linked up, and that's what they're like. You just rock up hungry, right? Like it's sort of like there's so much more that goes into it. Like even the human stomach's a certain size. You can stretch that through like stomach stretching stuff. Through like water loading or like low calorie dense foods like broccoli, watermelon, that sort of stuff. So there is actually like
this is all brand new to me. So can
really?
Yeah,
for sure. So I always just assume that people know this stuff, but of course, like forgetting as well that I'm sort of in this.
Yeah,
in
no,
this niche.
I'm in
explain
this
it.
niche. Yeah,
I'm
it's
a
easy.
child.
It's
Tell me
easy
about
to
it.
forget. So, because the human stomach's only like a certain size, I think it might be like say a couple of liters. That's why they'll have these challenges that like the volume will be like 3 kilos or 3 liters. It roughly translates depending on the food. But they set these challenges that the normal people can't do because your stomach's not. It's like a muscle. If someone walked in and they're always powerlifting and you go like 200 kilo deadlift, they'd probably go, oh, I can do that. But for someone that's never deadlifted before, they'd be like, impossible. You wouldn't even get it off the floor. Same sort of thing with the food challenges. Some people, just like strength, I guess, some people genetically have stretchier stomachs and a bigger stomach capacity. Like we've all got that one friend that just eats so much, it just goes nowhere. That's a genetic thing as well. But it is definitely possible for everyone to increase their stomach capacity through you sit down with, I like low calorie dense food like broccoli, watermelon, something like that, because you don't want to practice stretching your stomach by eating a lot of high calorie foods because that's how you do put on a lot of weight. So do the low calorie. So you smash a couple of kilos of broccoli, a couple of kilos of watermelon, and then try and drink water on top of it just to get the stomach stretching more. That just helps your stomach get used to expanding. And then over time as well, you'll fit more and more in. So when you do a challenge, what I couldn't have done like 6 months ago, I can do now because slowly but surely, if you keep practicing, you can eat more and more and more. And that's how you see some of these incredible guys doing like 7, 8, 9 kilos, fried rices and stuff like that. It's just from practice and practice and practice.
So this is something you're doing like off camera at home. You'll sit there with a massive bowl of broccoli and actually work on stretching your stomach.
It's the unglamorous side of all the delicious food. Is there's a lot of even if it's not stomach stretching, there's a lot of low calorie food in between the high calorie food. But yeah, off camera, there's a lot of water loading, a lot of broccoli consumption, and I guess I have shown snippets on the social media, but it's far less exciting. It's far less exciting than.
Is there any bad consequences of eating like food challenges? Like with, the whole stomach stretching, like what can happen long term with that?
Yeah, so I think it's like a lot of things, honestly. It's you just really need to be in tune with your body and you really just need to get like regular checkups. Like I always say to people like, I love this stuff, but I wouldn't recommend it to someone, I wouldn't recommend it to I wouldn't be saying to kids, oh, go do food challenges sort of thing. I think it's just like boxing. It's just like a lot of like sports, really. You need to know your limits, but you also don't want to push yourself too hard, too fast. So like even with the stuff like with the stomach stretching and that sort of thing, you don't want to be like pushing yourself to the point where you're physically ill, So and then I've got check up with doctors and stuff, and they more or less were like, look, it was just my same doctor actually I had when I was boxing. He said, you just keep picking things that can hurt you. Hey, I'm like, man, I'm just a glutton for punishment. But he said, it's one of those things that we don't recommend it. But if you set on it, as long as you monitor it and make sure that, all your levels and everything are fine, get regular checkups, there is a way to do it healthier. Like the boxing, he said, we don't recommend this. If you didn't do it, it'd probably be better for you overall. But as long as you're actually cognizant of, that this isn't the best thing in the world for you. And if you're doing a 30 burger challenge today, probably don't do one tomorrow. It's sort of just like we were saying before with the balance and stuff,
In moderation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who would have thought
100%.
that getting punched in the face wasn't good for you?
Who would have thought?
Crazy.
Who would have thought?
With knowing your own body, so if you're doing a challenge and you feel like you're coming up to sort of your limit,
Yeah.
what does that feel like to know? And have you failed challenges?
Yeah, so I think the only way you really learn is through practice. So right, now after a year of doing it, I've got a lot more of an understanding of how far I can push before it becomes to the point where I feel like I need to be ill or you feel just off for a while. And yeah, I've definitely failed some challenges. I went to Bali again. They surprised me with a 3.8 kilo burger that was bigger than my head, and that was just the same thing. Sort of ran out of space before I ran out of time. But the beauty of that sort of stuff too is because I make these videos for a bit of lighthearted fun. There's not big. We're not versing for sheep stations, I guess. So, I'd much rather walk away and come back another day and give it a crack when I'm a little bit better than actually hurting myself. Because the whole point of this for me was just a bit of fun. The fact that other people are really engaged as well, that's beautiful because it gives me a bit of a platform to talk about some other things that are really dear to me. But I'm never going to actually forego my health just to push that extra bit hard, even though like sometimes you're tempted to. You know deep down when enough is enough. Really.
That using your platform to speak about other things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
You are someone that we, as part of sort of Blokes Advice, were very much drawn to because of the way that you deliver your message.
Yeah.
In the sense that your main content is food challenges, which a lot of guys get around. It's very apparent just by your following. But you also you'll trickle a little bit of value adding for some very, very important messages that you want to push yourself. Like you're a big mental health advocate, which we just spoke about with your physical activity and using those two together. But the way that you do it is it's not just different to how we do it with BA, where you want your funny content and all this sort of stuff, and then you just trickle it, because if you're just smashing people with that content, guys aren't very receptive to it.
No, for sure. And I completely agree with what you're saying. I think it's just enough that people think, especially as blokes, just enough that you can start going, that's actually that's interesting. But not so much that you're like, I don't want to feel like I'm standing up on a soapbox preaching too much, because that, we're here for the food challenges. Like, I understand that's what a lot of most people have come to for the food challenges. But I've been really blessed with the support that I've received. A lot of people are like, oh, look, we came for the food challenges. We stayed for all this other stuff, because it is life, and it is hard to navigate these times because so much is changing. So I guess it's nice that we can all kind of see that we're not alone. And I like to think I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person. I think it, not in a bad way, but I think it makes people feel a bit better about their own struggles when they know that I'm also struggling. Because on the outside looking in, I'm stoked all the time. Things are great. I'm always happy. I struggle not to smile. It's just how I feel, But in saying that, doesn't mean I'm always, 110%. And I think, like you said, by just sprinkling a bit of reality and stuff that I feel on top of it, it sort of opens up people's minds and also conversations to go, oh man, if you're struggling, I've got another loud, happy friend that's always he might be struggling too. It's it's not just the guy that's sitting in the corner looking sad. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's just enough that we talk about it, but not so much that I start to bore. No, I shouldn't say bore, but overload, I guess. Yeah,
You don't want it to be overbearing.
Overbearing for sure.
The messenger matters.
Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about making mental health a more mainstream conversation, what it is people like yourself that people can look at and be like, he's like me. He's got tattoos. He goes to the gym. He used to be a boxer. He does the FIFO thing. Whatever it is, I can see myself in him. I relate to him. And you drop that little nugget, they might relate 100 times more to you saying that than a massive big charity with the billboards on the side of the highway saying whatever they're saying about mental health.
For sure.
And what we need is more people like you doing that all over the place. So then it actually becomes not the conversation, but a snippet within a normal conversation.
For sure.
Normalization.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I agree, 100%. Just like you said, I think it's just killing that stigma that it's uncool is going to be the best thing that we can all do moving forward, because it's as soon as people feel comfortable to have that conversation, the amount of people that have reached out to me and gone, hey man, I sort of struggle with this too, because anxiety is a big one for me. I really struggle with crowds and people, which is this whole journey.
It's a terrible thing to get into, that you're doing when you struggle with that.
And then I'm sitting in front of crowds of people watching me eat, which is another thing that makes you feel a bit nervous, people watching you eat. But it's been good, because kind of the only way around it is through it, I guess but I guess it also shows other people that they're you're how are you anxious if you do this? It's I just feel anxious the whole time I'm doing it. They're now I want to try the thing that I wanted to do, but I thought I couldn't do it. It's well, you absolutely can. It's just going to be a bit uncomfortable to start with. And I've had some really nice stories of people reaching out I did the thing, or, got in the band or did this. And just from sort of seeing you do it, and obviously you're struggling too, but we don't see it. So sort of fake it till you make it. So it's been super positive, man. It's super, super blessed that I'm in this space.
I love that. It's you using your platform to lead by example. You are being the leader that everyone needs. whether you like the term leader or not, but you are. You're doing things that you're uncomfortable doing, going, I'm just gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
and other people see that and just go, yeah, I can do it too if he's doing it. So that's that whole relatability thing that you're crushing it, brother.
I'm a big believer in if I can do it, you can do it. Like, you know, like there's, and not in a negative way. Like I know my strengths and I'm you know, I'm proud of myself for all the things we're doing, but I'm not, like, we're all special and unique, but at the same time, if anyone can do it, we all can do it. You know, I'm a big believer in that as well. So if I can do it, you can do it. So.
You're about a year into this. You could call yourself an influencer now.
Yeah, I guess so. Like,
as much as people hate that.
Right? Yeah, how does that make you feel, like someone referring to you as an influencer?
I tell people all the time, it's like a catchphrase now. I go, I'm not an influencer, bro. I'm just a guy that eats food and people watch. Like, because it's funny, but we have that like notation behind influencer where you sort of think like, you know, like cameras in people's faces or like kind of overbearing, I guess. But I guess that's what we all are really, because like, you know, in the social media sphere, I guess that's like, for a lack of a better term, 100%. But it's yeah, it took me some adjustment to get used to that, but I think it's positive.
Yeah, not everyone has millions of views on what they're doing. Yeah. So that's probably the difference with you, right?
Maybe.
But it does take some adjustment. And, you know, people start seeing you that are outside the realm of, you know, jumping on podcasts and doing YouTube videos and all that sort of stuff. And they start thinking, oh, like he's famous. But to you, you're kind of living relatively the life you've always lived.
Yeah.
Has that been something you've had to deal with, people's expectations versus the reality of where you're at?
Yeah. So like down the track, I would love to make this my full-time thing. That's the goal. Like that's my overall goal for sure. I tell everyone. But yeah, people think that this is my life. Like they think I just travel around eating food, getting paid, going on podcasts. And you know, because I do like FIFO, like in the mines sort of thing, working underground. But yeah, I think it's just like that adjustment period to also kind of let people know like this is what I'm aiming for, but I'm not like living in a mansion getting paid like bulk coin from restaurants and stuff. Like down the track to make it full time would be great. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, like you said, it's just sort of like what people think and what actually happens. Like my life's great, but it's nowhere near as exciting as people probably think.
It's just a misconception of what people see.
For sure.
Because they see you
100%.
on this screen doing all this stuff, and
yeah,
they put just an expectation on you, and it's
for sure
sometimes funny to deal with at the start.
Yes, for sure. I actually received I shouldn't say backlash, but I had a lot of like it's sort of that older gen of like you know, middle-aged to older dudes like, oh, wish I could do this for a job. Like, oh, I wish my life was easy as yours. And I was like, oh, man, I actually work underground. They're like, oh, you work underground, like, and it almost like they champion you then. Oh, well, you're doing this and that. So it's like you said, it's sort of more relatability. I think they think I'm just sort of like chilling out, getting paid to eat, which don't get me wrong, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal, for sure.
It's very much that tall poppy syndrome thing that Australia has, though, as well, where if anyone sees success, they're not seeing the work that goes into it. They just see you crushing and they're just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm going to try and pull him down. It's like, no, don't do that. Like, celebrate people succeeding. But, yeah, no one, even with us, the amount of conversations we've had with where everyone goes, they'll see us on this podcast and they'll see our reels and they'll see all this and they're like, yeah, these two, like, this is what they do. And it's like, we both work full-time jobs, man. Still got to balance the family, still got to work full-time, still got to, we're just burning the candle at both ends. That's what we're doing, much like yourself.
100%. And like you said, what people don't see is that like, oh, I wish I had time. You guys don't have time either. None of us have time. You just make time. And then a lot of that time comes out of sleep or, you know, other things for sure.
So,
yeah. I was going to say, I'm sure you're the same as me. Sleep's just like a thing that happens occasionally. Like,
speaking of sleep, how important is sleep to you, being that you work underground, you focus so much time on your physical activity? Sleep's a big part. Like, is that something that you try and focus on? Yeah,
I very much, that's probably the one area that I really lack in terms of like quality, consistent sleep is very hard at work. Being we do such big days and being that I train so much, like I try and get at least like say 6 hours at work. Not that I get loads more at home, but like you said, it's just hard trying to fit everything in to that time. But having even 6 hours compared to like less, man, it makes a big difference. Like it's such with like your recovery, with my mental health, with work. And then when I get home, I try and prioritize a little bit more because I've got like a little bit more wiggle room around the schedule. But I'm sure you guys are the same. It's sort of just like sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's a little bit less good than you'd like it to be.
It's such a hard thing to balance, especially when you're trying to build something that you know there's a trajectory on the upwards,
Yes.
you start to then sacrifice sleep,
Yeah.
and it starts to compile more and more and more, and then
Yeah.
you just get hit with this big fatigue wall, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
It
now.
does catch up
So-
eventually. Yeah, for
does.
sure.
My 6 is my number too.
Yeah,
like
for
I'm
sure.
Like, 6 I'll make do.
Yeah.
Anything under that, I can do it, but then it starts getting to the stage where you're not doing it as good as you probably could have done.
100%,
And you're probably
100%.
better off getting that rest in.
Yep. To recuperate at least just enough for sure. For sure.
And I have heard someone on Joe Rogan who was a sleep expert that says anyone that says they can get away with 6 hours sleep and perform fully is a liar, and you can't.
I heard that too.
So apparently you can't do 6 hours sleep consistently, but it seems to get me through.
For sure. Yeah.
It does catch up with you though. Like you can tell when, because even if you're having 6 hours sleep, it's not a deep 6 hours sleep majority of the time, because usually your overactive mind's going.
Yeah.
Because you're like, the reason you're getting 6 is because you've worked on something right up in time. And you're going, oh
Yeah.
fuck, yeah, I need to get
I need to
sleep
sleep.
because I've got this going in the
And then
morning.
you wake up and you work straight back on the same thing and you're
Yeah.
like back at it. Like, yeah.
I go lights out because of that though.
Because you just work yourself right to the bone.
My body knows when I go, it's sleep time. It's like, shit, I'm taking this now. And it goes.
Straight
like,
out, yeah.
I very rarely lay in bed thinking. I'm like, I get to bed, I've made the conscious decision, I've done everything I could today, and I'm out.
I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah, look,
That's-
I'm on and off with that. Like sometimes, fuck, it was just the other day actually. I had one of those times where you wake up in the morning and you're like, did I sleep? They're the worst.
That's rough. That's the worst. Yeah, that is rough.
So, which I'm sure I'm not the only one that has that. Everyone gets that, but your day's cooked then. It's so nothing goes right
I
then.
feel
that
like
day.
you're just fighting an uphill battle from
Yep.
getting out of it for sure.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all part of it. But what do you do? Back to what you were known for with your food challenges.
Yeah.
So we live in a very, very big country that do a lot of food challenges. Is there anything on your bucket list within Australia that you want to do? That like even you might look at and just go, fuck, there's no way.
I think it's. I always get the name wrong, but there's somewhere in Sydney that does like a 5 kilo burger. I think there's only like 2 people ever to have finished it. So like I'm trying to train up to a point where I can do that, because that would be really cool to be able to at least come close to it.
5 kilos is a lot.
Oh
dude.
man, it's humongous. So outside of that, I think there's some really cool ones in Perth. You've got like 3 kilo donuts and stuff that's just phenomenal. But yeah, probably just that burger one stands out to me because it is just so massive, you know.
Does Ninda Gully still do the road train?
I actually just saw that though. That's even bigger again.
That thing-
even bigger
That
again.
thing's huge.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really big. And it's like, have you ever been out to Ninda Gully pub? It's pretty cool. It's like this little country pub and it's
Yeah.
on like this little lake, and yeah, big fucking burger.
Yeah, that one's even
Really
bigger.
big.
That's even way bigger than 5 kilos apparently. So that'd be a cool video, but ain't no one finishing that. Like,
Nah.
Surely you've been getting a lot of sort of requests now to come and do a certain challenge.
yeah.
Yeah, is that happening? Is that how you're finding a lot of them, or people suggesting you go and do it?
Yeah, I've been really blessed with people reaching out going, hey man, there's one here, or hey, there's one here. And I've just moved down from Townsville, so it's going to be a lot easier now being kind of like coastal, because there's not as much up in North Queensland. So, but I do get sent a lot, and I appreciate everyone that does that, because like I'm always scouring the internet to try and find, you know, what the latest thing is, but like you miss some slip through the cracks. So yeah, my inbox is just full of, hey man, you should do this or you should do that, or which it helps so much because also shows me what people want to see, which yeah, just is half of the battle is figuring out like, what do I do next? Or like, you know, what looks good.
Classic influencer moving to the Gold Coast.
Yeah. Typical, hey, typical.
How did you find that? Because you're not 30 yet, are you?
No, I'm 29 at the moment.
29. So, and you've just moved away from all your families up in Townsville?
Yeah, all my family and friends
So
pretty
you've
much.
just moved down here. Did you find that hard?
Yeah, it's been, I've only been here a couple of days, but it's already been a bit of an adjustment period to sort of be like, oh, wow, I'm very far away from normality, I guess. But it's also super exciting because the amount of opportunity, like, you know, even being able to chat to you guys today and the amount of opportunities that it opens up is just like, for every negative, like I guess like the overwhelming negative, there's a lot of overwhelming positives. Like, you know, yeah, I'm further away from people, but so much closer to more opportunities and that sort of thing. So I think I'm really just trying to focus on on all the cool stuff we can do. But I'm super lucky with with my family and stuff as it is. Like, I probably call my family probably like twice a day. Most of the time, my brother or, mum or dad or something like that for this sort of reason. Because like you said, it's an adjustment period for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, and you can still get homesick even at 29, 30
100.
years old.
I don't think there's an age limit. You're right. I think it wouldn't matter. Hey, it wouldn't matter. So
You sort of made a joke about it before, and we've joked about it a little bit, but we've always said guys with face tats have a bit of a story.
yeah.
Is there anything that you've sort of been through that you think is unique in terms of the challenges in your life that you think people could benefit from, I guess, having a little chit chat about?
I think I wouldn't say it's completely unique to me, but it's definitely like perspective, I guess, which is like sort of not having limiting beliefs. Like when I was younger, I'm 29 now, like we just said. When I was younger, there was 100% certainty that I would not be alive or free at this age. Like, so I thought it'd be one or the other, but I thought it would probably be dead or locked up. But I was sort of leaning towards it not here, and I think it's sort of like I hope I'm an example to someone that might be feeling the same thing, that you never really know what's going to happen. Like even if things feel negative or you sort of feel like there's no hope, I guess. Feel like there's just no hope for you. Like you never really know. Like you're only like one good decision away from meeting someone that can point you in the right direction to another good decision. Because like probably like 10 years ago, if someone said I'd be sitting here spreading a good message, I would have laughed and been like, you got the wrong dude, man. You got the wrong dude. So yeah, I think it's just, yeah, it's so cliche, but it's also a cliche for a reason, which is just like, like never put like a cap on what you believe you can do, because like, the days become months, months become years, and then you look back and you don't even realize who you used to be because you're just so far improved from it. So,
That's a pretty heavy thing to say 10 years ago.
yeah.
To not think you'd
Yeah,
Do you remember the reason why? Was it the crowds? Was it the mental health? Was it the I don't know, the upbringing? Was there anything in particular that you thought pointed you in that thought pattern?
I think I was sort of just, it was definitely the crowd didn't help, but then we were sort of like looking around, everyone was sort of struggling, sort of resorting to things that are like less favorable to just eat, sort of like I was at a period of my life where I wasn't talking to my family. So it was just me and a few friends that we were hanging around, and everyone was really struggling like financially and like looking back at it mentally and emotionally as well. But being 19, I didn't even realize that I had mental health stuff going on. I just thought that this is life and life sucked. But I think it's, like you said, it's just a lot of factors all at once that sort of, nothing like being hungry and sort of like wondering what am I going to do? To sort of make you think like there's got to be more to life. And then it sort of just felt like failure after failure, sort of like what's the point of this all? And then it's sort of like you said, it's just sort of walking that tightrope between what's the point. But yeah, so it definitely was like a very heavy period of my life, but I'm very grateful to have lived it. So to see that there is light on the other side, I guess.
Do you reckon there was like one specific catalyst, or what age do you reckon you were at that you sort of maybe went, okay, nah, fuck, I can't be doing this forever, else I will end up like that?
Yeah.
What was the like key moment, do you reckon, if you had one?
I think it took me years. It took me years and years and years. But I think I started working in the detention center. So I was a youth worker in a juvenile detention center, and then meeting the boys there, and just realizing that we're just exactly the same. That's why I was like, holy shit! Like we are exactly the same. Like as young men, they've had. Like obviously we've all got different circumstances, but like they're so angry and they just don't believe in themselves, and not all of them, but a lot. There's a lot of trauma, and I think that was a part that opened my eyes up to be like, I believe in these kids that they can do better. So why can't I believe in myself that I could be better too? Like it's not just other people that like are capable of change. Like I am as well. It just starts from within. I find it a lot easier to believe in other people than myself. But I think that was the turning point. Like I was leaning towards the self-improvement and trying to be better, but I was really lacking, I guess, that belief. And then the kids sort of saved me in the sense where I was like, man, like this is, I'm not unique in the way I'm feeling this hopelessness. This is a real thing that affects a lot of us. And I think that was the thing that made me go, well, there is hope. Like there is 100% hope.
That's such a common trait for men, to be able to look at others and go, oh, they could just do this, but not actually take their own advice.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Where it's a credit to you to be able to actually self-reflect and do that. Where I've only just really figured out how to do that now.
He's been telling people how to live for years.
It takes a long time, and you're probably the same as me. Like, I give stellar advice, and then I'll look back at the things I've done and gone,
take your own fucking advice.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. You said a lot about like feelings of hopelessness and direction, and that's another thing that guys are facing a lot. They feel like it's never going to get better.
Yeah.
And the road to success and the road to failure is kind of like the same road. It's just it turns into failure when you give up.
Yeah.
But until you actually get to success, you don't know you're going to success. It feels like the road to failure because it is. So the perspective on all that hopelessness and stuff like that is just got to be knowing that things can get better by seeing guys like you that have gone and done it.
I think, like I heard someone say, and it's just true, the struggle is beautiful in reflection. Like all of the stuff that happens, you go, like you watch the movie, Eminem wins the battle at the end, and he's Eminem now, and how good is that? But the whole story up until that's just a tragedy. He's just a loser, like in his own mind. I think that's the same for all of us, really, is, like looking back, the heart of the journey, you go, man, what a comeback story. But until the thing is done, like you said, you just wonder, like, is this going to work? Like, is this going to happen? So yeah, I think perspective is 100% it, bro.
It's not even necessarily that you're doubting yourself, because you're actually right. Like in the moment, they are failures. It's just you have to go through all these failures to get that success.
100%.
So you're not wrong by saying that you're not doing that good.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
At the time, for sure.
But that's the process. That negativity leads to the positivity.
Yes.
So you got to understand without negativity, there isn't positivity. And that's life. That's what we're doing.
100, and no one is positive all the time. Like that's what I mean. All of us, every single person, like, we all have our self-doubts and days when you're just like, man, like 100%.
We say it all the time, like perfection is unattainable.
Yes.
You can't do perfection. You say things very differently. You're all about chasing perfection.
Oh, no, but I always say you're never going to attain it.
No. So you should always chase it.
How close can we get? Let's try and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does the future hold for you, Jimmy George?
More of exactly the same, I hope. Just keep plugging along, doing what we're doing, meeting cool people like yourselves, just enjoying. Like, my biggest thing is trying to enjoy every day. Because in the past, I would have been like, I want to get to the point where I'm doing this full time and I'm not going to be happy until this is my full time thing. But upon reflection, like, I don't want to have that destination addiction where it's like, when I get this, I'll feel this. So I think it's just more of what I'm doing, and just like increase the volume a bit now. It'll be easier because there's a lot more going on down here. But just keep doing the challenges, keep trying to like sprinkle a bit of, my own sort of beliefs in it, I guess. But then just enjoy, like, just take it for the ride that it is, try and take all the opportunities that I'm afforded. So, yeah.
No, I'm excited.
I'm excited too, yeah.
I'm so stoked, and I can't thank you enough for coming and sitting on the couch with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do.
So much, just everything about you. Like, I don't know how anyone could ever say anything negative about you. Yeah. And if they do, fuck you. Leave Jimmy alone. No, we really, really appreciate the conversation. So I think there's going to be a lot of positives that some guys can take out of here. And if you're not around what Jimmy's doing, jump across. Was it Jimmy Judge on
Insta? Yeah. Yep.
And then it's Jimmy Judge Eats on
Jimmy
YouTube.
Judge Eats on YouTube.
Where you're doing a lot of your longer form
content.
content.
I do the longer stuff. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good to watch. I really appreciate it. I'll let you sign us out, Matty.
Thanks, mate. So if you want to know anything more about the project, www.betterblokeproject.org is where you're going to find out all about our upcoming events, the podcast we do, and all the other resources we got going on. So jump over there, give us some love, and we appreciate it.
All right. And as always, be better. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Better Bloke. If you got anything out of it, show some love by dropping a 5-star review below.
If you want to learn more about everything we're doing, head to the description, hit the links, and follow us on the socials. If you want to learn more about the project, head to betterblokeproject.org.